going to stop the transcription because it bothers me. It'll still do it. It's just I don't want to see it. Okay, so Elmer had a question yesterday. Okay, so let me just make sure we're recording. All right, so his question was, let's see. All right, so the first question was that the capstone will not involve any respondents or data gathering involving interviews, small group discussion, anything like that. Is that correct? That the capstone is more about plans? And yes, that's pretty much true. So what you're doing in this course, and we've changed it. It used to be until this term, you were conducting an actual research study. So you were in 5470, which you have already taken at some point. I want to step out. Those of you who took 5470 before last term thought you were going to be conducting a research study. So you made a proposal, you found a location, a school or students or whoever, and you wrote a proposal. You got permission from, well, no, you wouldn't have done that yet, but you knew you were going to need permission from a principal or a leader of some kind. And then in 5910, you were going to conduct that study that you had planned. So the problem with that is when you conduct research involving human subjects, there's an internal review board process. And because UO people doesn't want to pay for an IRB, the instructors acted as that IRB. So I, as the instructor, would look at your proposal in 5470 and make sure I had no inference or there was no implication of any harm or risk to the participants. And then I would generally say, okay, go do your thing. But that's a lot of responsibility on a volunteer. So we have stopped doing that. We don't use live subjects anymore. We have you utilize secondary data. More about that in a minute. So you are not actually conducting a study. If you took 5470 whenever and you have this proposal, great. You can still use the proposal because it'll work in the template that you've seen, the template proposal. It'll work. Just know that you're not going to have any data from your personal sources. So, for example, this study was designed, there was going to be an intervention for fifth graders to prepare them for sixth graders. I don't know exactly what the intervention was, but it was something where fifth graders received some kind of training or education or expansion of some information they got. Okay, it's a bridge anyway. And then the student in 5910 was going to collect the data from the fifth graders and see if they did better, I guess. That's what I'm assuming, is see if they did better in sixth grade. Wonderful. That's a really, to me, rational reason for a study. Okay. And so what I told this person is, that's great, but you're going to have to find some data from a study where that's something similar to that. So you can say, you can pretend this is my data, which might be hard because I don't know if any researchers have done something similar where they gave fifth graders additional instruction to go to sixth grade. So, you know, if you said, well, I have a reading intervention, you know, my 10th graders can't read. I mean, they're reading at a fifth grade level. So what I want to do with this one class is introduce the study of phonics. Okay, I don't teach high school, so I'm just making it up. All right, so I want to put in phonics, and I'm going to see if that one class does better after the phonics study. So someone out there has probably done something similar. So you could find the data from that actual study to use in your pretend study. But for this student that wrote in, I don't know if there's been a study on fifth graders going into sixth grade. So my point is, because you're not actually conducting a study, a live study, you need to find data that were derived from a similar study to your pretend study. So if you may not, you know, here's the thing. Before it's like, no, I really want to do this. I really want to see if this intervention for fifth graders helps. I know you do, but you can't find any data. So don't do it. Just do something about 10th graders reading scores, whatever. Okay, so you may not actually, this class is not designed to give you real information to go implement an intervention. It's designed to show us that you can design and analyze a study, and that you can incorporate data. You can analyze data, but you're not collecting data in this study. It's already out there somewhere. There are lots of sources for secondary data, and I showed you one in my preview video. So I hope that makes sense, that you are not conducting a real study. Okay. And the next question, oops, is, because you're using secondary data, does the school where you work need to submit, you know, do you submit documents to your school, and does your school give you permission? No, you don't get permission from anybody because you're not actually conducting a study. So you know, the templates that, oh, and I need to turn those templates into Word documents. So the templates for permission from, you know, requesting permission and then getting permission are just pretend. You can say Wolf Elementary School on 23 Skidoo Street, Anytown, USA, right? It doesn't matter. So the templates aren't leaving anywhere. You're not emailing you're not giving the templates to anybody except me, and you're just pretending to fill them out. Okay. Yeah, Sajala.
Do we really write the actual or the names are also fictitious?
Do you actually what now?
The school address and details, is it
You can, or it's not really going anywhere. So, you know, I personally, because of who I am, would have fun with it. You know, I would make it Wolf Elementary School, you know, but no, you can put whatever address and school name on there that you want. Okay. All right. Let's see. And then, okay. So if no, they asked if no human subjects are involved, who's the template for? So, you know, that now I'm going to say, and I don't mean anything against this person, but, you know, I did address all this in my Unit 1 preview. So if there's any way at all to watch that preview, and if you watch it on YouTube, you can get the closed captions. So if you can't listen to sound or something like that. But I don't know what capability everybody has to watch YouTube videos. So I don't mind the questions that this student asked because, again, I'm very detailed in the preview videos. So the reason I bring that up is not to make the student feel bad, but just to say, if you had the same questions and you can watch YouTube videos, you have the internet or you have data ability to watch the previews and then ask the questions. So anyway, the question was, well, who's the signatory on this letter? You're pretending. I mean, you can sign. You should sign on the request letter. It should be your information, name, address. Well, you don't have to put your personal address, and then your name, right? Your signature. But to whom you're addressing it, make it up. I don't care. President Barack Obama, whatever. I have toddlers. Okay, so anyway, yeah. So you're not actually the signatory is you. You sign for your pretend leader. Okay, giving you permission. Okay, and then yeah. So I talked about your topic can be whatever you want it to be. Like for example, this person wanted an intervention for fifth graders going into sixth grade. I'm assuming he teaches sixth graders, and he's like, boy, they're coming to sixth grade and they're not capable, or they're not as adept as we would like them to be. So I want to give the fifth grade teachers something they can do before that kid gets here. I don't know if there's anything out there like that. So I didn't want to tell them, yeah, do it. And then good luck on the data. And you can't just make up the data. That you got to use real data from somewhere, because if I just make up results, I can say, look, it worked, and that's sloppy. That's not scientific. It's not research based. So you need to go out and use real data that are out there. Now, I will say, if your team teacher or one of your best friends is a teacher and they did an actual study, I don't care if you use their data. You need to cite them. You need to provide use them as if you had found it, on the internet. So you're gonna have to say, I got this information from Jennifer Wolf, my teacher friend. But I'm fine with that. I mean, but data are out there. Sajala, yeah.
So one thing when I was trying to choose a research topic and finding the data was, so if the study that I am taking the data also has a similar objective, will will my objective, will it be valid? And how does that work? So that I change the discussion, or that I use the data which can be relevant for my objective too, which was not necessarily the objective of the study where the data I'm taking.
Okay, let me see if I understand. You're saying if you want to implement an intervention for 10th graders who aren't able to read, and you want to implement phonics study, the data you use need to come from a study on students who had a phonics intervention to help them read. Is that your question? That study, it really kind of does, because again, you're just using data that they're specific to the intervention. Now, they're just numbers. Uh, you know, So with this other student in the bridge for 6th grade, yeah, just change your topic. I mean, it's because if you say, well, I really want to do 10th graders and phonics, I get that. But if you use secondary data, you don't know if what you were going to do was going to turn out right anyway. So it's, if you say, well, the data you take from somewhere else make your study kind of irrelevant because you didn't conduct that study on those students in that location. That's the thing about applied research. So PhDs identify a problem. So they say, 10th graders, a lot of 10th graders can't read. So here's what we found. Here may be the reasons, maybe if they go that far into it. But they just do research and say, yeah, we have determined a lot of 10th graders cannot read. Okay, thank you. Nothing you didn't tell me anything new. I'm a teacher, right? But anyway, they identify. And again, if they provide some possible reasons, like in looking at their schooling, they never had phonics instruction. So that may be the reason, along with they don't get enough sleep, their nutrition's bad, whatever. So you say, ooh, that sounds like a problem I have. My 10th graders can't read. The study, these PhDs said it could be no phonics, bad food or bad sleep or bad food. I'm going to say it's the phonics. That's the one I can control. So I'm going to implement phonics. Well, you're not actually doing that. So the data you acquire don't prove anything about your actual idea. If you say, I think phonics, that's applied research. I think phonics instruction will turn these kids around. I went out and found this secondary data from a math test. And look, I applied the numbers, the values. I applied the values. That's not the same as data. Data are values related to an actual intervention. So if you have a test score of 80 and then you have a test score of 95, that's not necessarily data because 80 and 95 are directly related to whatever study was conducted. 80 and 95 by themselves are just two numbers. So by using secondary data, it doesn't prove anything about your pretend study. Everything's pretend here. But if you find, that's why you need to use data that are associated with a study that's at least similar to yours, because then there's some support behind your idea. Otherwise, I can say anything. Look, if everybody had a cat, their test scores would go up because I made up some numbers, or I used numbers from a math test and everybody's scores went up. So I applied those numbers to my idea about cats. Totally unrelated. So yeah, so do you want to, Sajala, do you want to talk about your idea and then we can talk about it as a study that may actually have happened that was similar, or you can adjust your idea to match that study.
In the last course, I was trying to look at the mental well-being of adolescent students. That was one of the ideas I was zeroing in. But then now I'm not really sure if I can find studies which will give me data from. I need to
And you
look
said, you said mental well-being.
in adolescence due to the over usage of technology since
Oh, I
pandemic
guarantee
started?
you can find that data. Guarantee it.
Okay.
Because that's and I say that because I've had many students, yeah, who that's a very trendy subject or study idea right now. So I guarantee you can find a study and you can go to a journal. I mean, a journal that publishes research studies provides their data, but you have to do that in a study. And that was, on a side note, that was something I had challenges with students here, is not providing their data, just saying, I did this study and my students all did better. Oh, well, you're a nice person, but I don't know. I mean, just because you said that, right? So in any journal article, they're going to provide their raw data. Every single, if they have 30 participants, they're going to provide 30 before and after test scores, for example. So if you look in journals for articles on mental well-being associated with social media use, you're going to have 97 in the last 3 years, because that's a really important topic right now. And so what the PhD did is they said, we think it's possible that teenagers who are on social media too much get depressed. The doctor of education or the applied researcher came in and said, yeah, I'm going to see, okay, so I'm going to take this group of students only, and I'm going to see if removing screen time improves their mental well-being. And then, okay, everybody, here are my 30 scores. Not a huge study. PhDs may have thousands and thousands. Applied research may have 100, because I'm only directing it toward these students. So here are my 30 scores. When you correlate them and run the statistical analysis, it shows reducing screen time improves mental well-being. And that's the applied research. So then Festus can take your study and go, well, you know what? It worked for her students. I'm going to try it on my students. Totally different result, maybe, because he's got totally different students. But if he has similar students, he's probably going to get the same outcome. So yes, with your idea of mental well-being associated with screen time, you will have zero problems finding data. I guarantee it. But you want to make sure your journal article is, I mean, it's got to be a scholarly journal, and so the Dr. Connolly, who developed this course, gave you several databases of journal articles to use, EBSCOhost or ERIC, whatever. But just pick a solid journal and find an article that is research based, which it will be, and then use their data. Don't copy their study. I mean, it's real easy to do, to just go, hey, that's what I would do. You need to design it, right? And then you go find the data. That's why we have you do the proposal first. We don't want you finding good data and then using that study. It's okay to learn that way, but the effort, the learning comes from you designing that study. Yes, go ahead.
So in the proposal, we are writing the method also. So
You're writing the what?
the method.
The method, correct. You are writing everything. And you're
Yeah,
going to write the results as well.
right. So
Okay.
this
Yes.
method, because the data we are taking from another study.
An actual
So
study. Yes.
study, yes. So the method, so how do we go about it? Because it was their method to collect the
Oh,
data.
your method may be the same. That's why in a real study, yeah, in a real study. So I'm back in the classroom and my fifth graders won't settle down after recess. So I happen to be, because I'm a good researcher, I go in and I find when, and I Google, how do I get my fifth graders to settle down after recess? And some study comes up that says, well, what we did, here's our method. We divided the students into two groups. We had one group come in directly after recess and start to work, and we had the other group come in and we read aloud for 15 minutes. And I guarantee you, this is why 98% of elementary school teachers read to their students after recess. Like, that is very common. I don't know if y'all teach elementary school, but your kids come in and they go to the carpet and sit down, and the teacher, boom, pulls out a read aloud. So, because somebody figured out, hey, let's get some kids settled down, right? So my method is the same as my friend Donna's method, because we both teach fifth grade. Yeah. So your method, you're going to check your method. I mean, you're going to say, here's what I think I would do. And then when you look at the actual study, you may find, oh, I forgot to divide them into groups. Oops, that's okay. In your final report, you will say, I determined they should be divided into groups, so I divided them in groups. Your proposal is just a proposal. Now, what I would do is look at that and go, hey, Sajala, you might want to divide them into groups, because if your intervention works, that could be because they all had instruction in social studies and they did some extra reading. But if you divide them into groups, nope, it was the phonics that did the trick, because this group got better, this group didn't. What was the difference? Phonics. Does that make sense? So in high school, that's a lot easier. It's becoming that way in elementary. Used to be in elementary, the teacher had the students all day. So it would have been challenging. Okay, I'm only going to read aloud to 13 students, and the other 13, I don't know, going to be at their desk, whatever. But in high school, you see a different group every 50 minutes, every hour. So, okay, this group, phonics, next period, no phonics. And then when you get that study, now here's the other thing. You have to do a literature review where you're going to be reading studies related to your idea. So you will see all those methods. So I don't think you're going to write your method wrong, because you're going to have read at least 6 other studies that say you need to divide groups. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're going to be very well informed by your literature review before you ever start your pretend study. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Now I saw Festus.
Okay,
Oh,
so yeah, I have a question.
okay. Sure.
Can you use more than one secondary data source?
You don't need to.
You don't need to. Okay.
If you had a really complex study, you could. So if I were doing, because it's applied research, it only goes to one study site. Now, if you say, my study site is both high schools in my town because I teach at both high schools, that's one study site. But if you have a high school in your town and you teach at it, and there's another one across town, that's 2 sites. So that's the only time you would have multiple data sets. So I would not do that. That's complicated. I would don't add to it. There's no reason to. You know, if we did that, we would say the reason we would do that is if you had a different population. So maybe my high school are the really wealthy kids whose parents are college educated and work, and then that other high school across the tracks, as we say in the South, not so good. You know, single parents and problems at home. I want to compare those two. That would be a reason to do that. Does phonics work with all kids, no matter what their socioeconomic status is? That's why you would do multiple study sites. Otherwise, do not complicate it. Because again, applied research is all about that one study site, not this is going to apply to everybody. It does not apply to everybody. Nobody should be claiming my applied research will work for you. It might. You're welcome to try, but it might not, because I only designed my study for my site. Again, that's the difference between a PhD and an EdD. Is the PhD said broadly, there's a problem. The EdD shrunk that down. I'm not worried about those other 2,000 students. I'm worried about my 100 students. That's all I care about. Now, when I get done, I may take my study to another group of 100 students, and I may do the exact same thing, but I may or may not get the same results because the study is designed, the intervention is designed for that one group over here, not them. I hope it works. And that's how we get things like learning styles or constructivism or experiential learning, is because it worked multiple times. But that it only works in that time. I can only guarantee, sort of, the only correlation I'm worried about is this one site. Does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. My second question is, what if you find a data source but it's not published?
I wouldn't use it. And you know, what do you mean by polished? Because I just
It's
assumed I
not
knew it.
published. It's not published in any
Yeah,
on the
I wouldn't use
website.
it. Oh, my hair is really flat. I wouldn't use it because, again, it's like, hey, y'all, I just did a study. Here's some data if you want to use it, use them. So you're going to use something published. If it's published, you're good. But if it's your friend next door's, well, hey, Festus, don't worry about it. I did this exact same thing for UO people 2 terms ago. Just use mine. You know, that's okay, but that's not published. It's not. Here's the thing about peer reviewed. We like to think that peer review means something because your peers looked at it and said, yeah, we think this is good. But there are some scholars out there who say they're just their peers. They're, you know, why are they any better than 2 other peers, and who says they're right? So I generally go with, if it's published in a scholarly journal, like, what is that, National Council of Teachers of Mathematics in the US has a journal. Yeah, that's scholarly. Use it. Or educational research. What is that journal? Journal of Educational Research, I think. Use it. Yeah. But, you know, here in the US, we have the National Education Association, and they put out a journal. I don't know if they put out studies, but if they had data sets, I probably would not use them because, hey, it's a great organization made up of teachers and paraprofessionals. Yeah, if they said, hey, read to your students after recess, yeah, I'm going to try it. But it's not research based, probably. So use something out of a published journal, and you'll have no problem finding that.
Okay, then In the research and education program that my proposal, I was looking at I was assessing technology integration
Mm.
in the biology lesson for grade 9 students to see, because we had a lot of complaints from parents that we are letting students use laptop in classrooms, and some of the parents feel it's more of a distraction than a helpful tool. And some teachers also feel the same way. So I was trying to look at the impact of the
Absolutely.
technology integration, yeah,
Same
in
thing.
the
You have
class.
zero problem because, when I remember I was teaching, well, I was teaching before laptops came out, but I was teaching when computers came out and Google, and teachers thought Google was the end of education. Students don't need teachers anymore. They can just ask Google, and my phone keeps going off when I do that, but just ask Google. You won't need teachers anymore. And we see that with AI, that teachers, we can't allow AI because we won't need teachers anymore and students will cheat all day long. We said that about Google. And yeah, some students cheat. And so as far as being distractions, absolutely there are cases where the teacher's like, you know what? I can't stand y'all anymore today. Just get on your computer. I've done it. Now it was a math game, but I was like, y'all are making me mad. Everybody get on Dimension U. And then I just walked around. So it was a babysitter, absolutely. And that happens. But there are many, many studies done on the value of technology in education because it's another trendy subject. PhDs said, man, teachers are using laptops in the schools now. We better find out if there's a problem. So they go out, thousands and thousands of students, and they identify, yeah, sometimes there's a problem. And then the EDs went in and said, well, let's see what exactly is the problem at this school. It's teachers who don't want to teach. So they put kids on computers and the learning stops, or the learning is negatively impacted. Or, well, this teacher is using technology in a positive way to help build on the lesson. So that model, SAMR, SAMR, so it's like sustain, or no, substitute. So instead of a book, I'm going to give you an ebook. So I just substituted technology. I didn't, just a different medium. And then there's A is, I think, add additional or something like that. It's like, I'm going to give you a book, but I want you to go on the internet and find answers to these questions. And then there's R is something, or M is modify. So, well, this was a project where they used a big poster board and they count, and I gave them magazines and they found pictures like a collage. Now I'm having them go into the internet and do research on, that's modify. And then R is something redesign, I think, where the whole method of instruction, the whole concept is impacted solely because of the technology that the teacher is bringing in. So lots of studies out there about the value or lack of value. When is technology detrimental? Yeah, you're going to find those studies. So parents didn't grow up with laptops. So we see it as, well, I didn't have a laptop. These kids are lazy. All they got to do is use the Google machine. I want them looking in an encyclopedia. And there's a time for that. Absolutely. The use of dictionaries is almost negligible. Almost never happens that a kid actually has a dictionary. I think you need to use a dictionary because it teaches you about guide words, alphabetizing, spelling correctly. If I just go to Google, what does determination mean? I get an answer. I didn't learn anything. It was a total recall, level 1 blooms, right? But if I have to expend some effort to find this word, we just raised the blooms level, the cognitive level, just by okay. So parents think that, and yeah, I'm not completely in disagreement. But you're going to find you're going to find many studies that will complement each other and probably some that will oppose each other. And that's real research. I have an idea that using computers is good. You're going to find studies that say that. As a researcher, you need to find those studies that disagree with you, because it may very well prove your point. Well, yeah, in that case, it's detrimental. That proves my point that in this case, it's valuable. Did that help?
So
Okay.
then I also noticed we are asked to make a deliverable. I saw in the instructions you are aside you are supposed to do a deliverable.
Deliverable. So you're going to write up a study. You're going to have a report. And so if your study is on using phonics with 10th graders, the curriculum product may be, here's a 3-week phonics intervention that you can use. That's a deliverable. Or here's how you can adjust your curriculum to introduce phonics. That's a deliverable. That's a curriculum management plan. So it'll all come together. I don't want you thinking about that, because I don't want you designing your study to somehow fit into a model, into a product. I'm going to take your product. It may just be a report on the study. That's fine. But it depends on where you want to go with your career, the way I see it. If you want to be a curriculum developer, develop some curriculum through this project. Take that data, build me a 3-week phonics intervention for 10th graders. And that's an actual thing. And then you can take it and sell it or give it away, whatever. So really, I want you to design your study. And then once you're through it, you're going to start imagining, how can I use this? Maybe just as a report. Here you go, people. Here's what I found. Or maybe you say, this would be really good to insert into the curriculum. Okay, so here's my curriculum. Here are my objectives. Maybe I insert phonics into that curriculum. Because, your curriculum are the objectives, the standards. It's not the books you use, right? So your curriculum is, I don't know anything about 10th grade math or whatever it was, but first your curriculum in the first semester, you're going to study this. Nowhere in that list is phonics. So you're going to make a curriculum management plan where you insert phonics. That's going to be your deliverable, with your study to back it up. Like, why would you do that? Well, here's my study, and that's why. Sajali, yeah.
I have 2 questions about this week's assignment.
Okay.
So the part 2, where I think Mistress was also asking about, is so does that come as a separate submission? And
Oh, you know what? I forgot to. No, I believe it is attached. I'm so glad you asked, because I don't have the same view. But I know you can only generally upload one thing. And when I was doing the preview, I thought about that. So let's see. How is that working? Well, we already have 2 students, no, 1 student who has submitted. Let me see what they did. Well, no, they were able to upload 2 things. So let me see if I can get a student view. Let's see, just a minute. Because when I took classes, and I know this is true for y'all, when I took classes, I could only ever upload 1 thing.
Yeah.
So I had to make it one big, long, I can't tell. Oh, add submission. Always forget about that. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to test to see if I can upload 2 things. Because the person that submitted something uploaded 2 things. There's one. There's another. No. Oh, it's just too large. It's not. Yeah, no wonder it's a big old file. Okay, let's see. File type. There we go. No, I guess you can just do 1. Well, darn it. Hold on. Probably should have done this before I got on video, right? Okay, so here's 1 thing. Up. Add. Create folder. Hold on. Assignment 2. I'm gonna. Well, I better not show you what my screen looks like. I'm gonna figure this out. Okay, so where are the folders? Download. Nope. Display. Display folder. Display folder. Okay, I don't know. Let's see. Rotisserie chicken. Okay, there you go. Oh, wait, that's a folder. Okay, I think what you have to do, try to find something small here. There we go. All right, now. Okay. The way I did it, I wonder if I actually had to do that or if I messed up the first time. Let's see. What I did on that last time was made a folder, but I don't think I needed to do that. Add. Okay. Choose file. So let's see if I can do 2 things. Okay, upload. All right, now add, choose file. Okay, upload. Yay! Yep, you can do 2 things. So they must have, which makes sense that they, changed it. But I know even last term at 5470, you could only upload 1 file. So in this course, you can upload 2 files. So, and you didn't have to create a folder and all that stuff. I just uploaded 2 files. So, yeah. So like I said, we have a student who did that. So it's definitely possible. So if y'all run into problems, email me and I will email that student and say, how did you do that? But I think you just add and you can get 1 file and then you add another file.
Perfect. Thank you. So it doesn't have to necessarily follow a template. We can just follow the guideline and then make one.
It does have to follow the template. Yeah. So you have a template for your proposal.
Mostly,
Oh,
yes.
you're talking about the second assignment? No,
Yeah.
I don't. No, I don't care. We gave you some samples like a Gantt chart. Gantt chart's really popular with the Army. But I don't care if you just say, first I'm going to do this on this date, then we'll do this on this date. I don't care.
Okay. And for part 1, it's okay if you cannot answer this, but I'm looking at where do we code the reference in our method also to the study that we are picking, or is it okay even if it is just the method that we are proposing?
Do you code it?
As in cite the
Oh, absolutely. You will. Yeah. Because it's going to be probably as part of your literature review. So while you're doing your literature review, you find, oh, that's the study. I want to use the data. So it's going to be cited in your
Method
paper.
2?
Yeah.
Method 2? Okay.
Well, you won't say in your report, I got this method from, but yeah, it'll be a citation. Yes.
Okay.
Does
I
that
was trying
answer
to
your
look at,
question?
because this is a pretentious proposal that we are making, the parts of the proposal, where would it really make sense to fit in the reference of the actual?
Absolutely, you will cite. It's going to be the only reason it's a template is to help you so you can be a PDF instead of Word document. So yeah, within that section that says, here's what I want to do. If you used a study to help you design, cite that study. Absolutely. You should. I give comments that say, where are you coming up with this? You got this from somewhere. That's the thing that I think students forget is because you've been through 13, 14 classes, whatever, you know a lot of stuff. And so you go, I know how to design it because I've read 100 research studies. Well, you need to cite one of them because you didn't just, oh, I just know, I have knowledge, right? You got it from somewhere. So you don't have to cite all 100 studies you've read previously, but you need to find a study that you're matching and cite it because you didn't just know how to conduct this, how to design a study. You learned it somewhere.
If you look on the template, there's no place for citation. Should we put the citation in
Oh, it's
within
within
the
it's
space?
in-text citation. So let me pull up the template. Oh, that's in the very beginning. Capstone project proposal template. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. Oh, this is different. Okay, wow. Teams has changed a little bit. All right, so you should be able to see this thing that says capstone project information. Yes,
Yes.
I can't see you anymore. So, all right, so now do you see the template?
Mm, no.
Not
I
loaded
mean,
yet. So
that it is written, but we are not necessarily seeing the actual template.
You are not seeing the template?
yeah,
Are you, yes or no, are you seeing the template?
I'm seeing the template. We're only seeing the web page.
Okay, so Teams has changed how they share a little bit. Used to, you could go back and forth, and now I guess if maybe I need to select, window, that's why. Okay. Okay. Now you see yourself. Now you see the template, yes?
Yeah,
Yes.
now we see the template.
Okay. All right. So yeah, you're gonna fill out all this, burnt, does not need, okay, the product. So again, what do you think you're gonna do? It's a proposal. So if you say, well, I want to see the connection between screen time and mental well-being, then it's a study to inform practice or policy. So it's a curriculum management plan. It's, basically it's a study results. Okay. So don't I'm not going to fail you because I go, just, it's a proposal. If you say, I think I'm going to give a curriculum management plan, and you're going to explain, okay, what do you mean by that? I'm going to provide through this study or this project, I'm going to provide policy on student screen time during the school day. And that could, Festus, that could work with you as well, is I'm going to provide policy on how many hours a day teachers can use technology. That's a curriculum management plan. Okay. All right. If you teach secondary, you're going to check this block. So I failed to ask, Sajala, what level do you teach?
I teach middle and high school.
Okay, so you're going to check that second block, Festus?
Yes.
Yeah, middle and high school, grade 9 to grade 12.
Ugh. Okay, so both of you would select that. There are some students in here that are elementary, so they would click that one. But okay, so now your problem is for Festus. Parents complain that students are on computers too much, and there's a correlation between screen time and mental well-being. Okay, Festus, there's nothing wrong with you including that. So, my purpose is to see if there is a correlation between technology integration and whatever, student well-being, student achievement, student connection in school, whatever you want. What are you trying to find out? Are you trying to find out if there's a problem with too much technology use, and what's problem? Okay. And then what do you aim to find? Okay, so what do you aim to get? I aim to provide policy to teachers. Here's how much technology you should be using during your instruction. And your hypothesis. I think more technology is better because that's what kids use today, whatever your hypothesis is. Okay. And single space your response. Don't double space like you do in a paper because you'll run out of room. So this should not be, whoops. This, oh, where'd it go? Yeah. This, well, okay. I'm not sure what I'm doing here. Oh, I'm back in problem. Okay. So this should not be double spaced or you won't have room. Okay. And then we're going to go down to your method. What are you going to do? And again, you're reading other research studies. So this will help you write your method. First, I'm going to find, research a good phonics program for high school. Then I'm going to determine my population, one class, my fifth period class of 10th grade social studies students. Okay. And then the data source, I have this phonics intervention I'm going to employ. The study design, is it mixed methods? Is it quantitative only? I'm just using test scores. Or is it mixed methods? I'm going to look at test scores and I'm going to ask the students how they feel. And then statistical analysis. You're going to need t-test. You're going to need Pearson correlation. Okay, I'm going to use those when I take my secondary data and apply it to my hypothesis, my study. Then talk about your curriculum product. I'm going to develop phonics instruction to be inserted in, within the social studies classroom. Curriculum management product or policy development. I'm going to develop a plan for teachers to use on how to implement the study of phonics. Resource, maybe you're just doing a study. That's fine. I'm just evaluating this phonics intervention, and that's all. That's what all we used to do. We didn't used to produce a product. We just analyzed the study. Maybe that's what you do. That's fine. Okay, and then again, single space. Okay, the impact of your group. So I set 7 complete sentences. I don't care. All right, but anyway, I believe, and that's fine. First person always. You write in first person. I believe that inserting phonics into a 10th grade, my 10th grade classroom will result in whatever. Okay. And then what's your timeline? So week 1, I'm going to do this. Week 2, I'm going to do this, or however you divide it up. Okay. Timeline. And then what problems do you see? As I said in my preview video, every single study has a limitation of population size because there is not a single study that can look at every single 10th grader in the world, right? So you're always going to have a sample population. It's a limitation. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean your study is not valuable. It just means you can't possibly study every single 10th grader in the world. And then maybe, so Festus, you may have a problem with parents who don't want their kid using technology. Well, your kid needs to use technology for me to evaluate the outcomes. So that maybe that's a problem. Maybe you get parental pushback. Maybe internet connectivity is bad, or maybe, Sajala, you have no ability outside of the school day to control, supposedly, what students are looking at on their phones. You can take their phones away, but at night you don't know what they're doing. So a limitation with you is, I don't know what students are doing outside of the school day. They may be on their phones from the minute they get on the bus until they go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, right? So that's a problem, a limitation, okay? And then competencies. So why do you feel confident that you can design and analyze a study? Well, when I took EDUC 5010 and we studied the context of education, I came to understand that globally, blah, blah, blah. When I took 5220, which I believe is curriculum theory, I learned whatever. When I took 5280, I learned whatever. Okay. And then to be gained, what do you hope to understand? Probably one of them is how you design and analyze a research study. Okay. And you're going to be able to develop a final report to provide to leaders who make decisions. Writing a report for leadership decisions is different from probably anything you've ever done. So you're going to gain that. So what all you think you're going to get out of this? These are all from me. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that your study makes sense. Again, if I give you feedback that says, I don't see where your intervention is. And I had that a lot. I would have students who didn't have an intervention. They were just going to give a test and then give a post test, like, where's the intervention? So I'm going to make sure that your study is well written, because I don't want you going off following your proposal and it's not complete. Okay. So then you put my name. Okay. So anytime you give a piece of paper to somebody, it should be as filled out as possible. Don't make me go to extra work for you. Okay. So you're going to put my name, you're going to put your name, and then you're going to sign it before you upload it. Otherwise, I'll sign it, send it back, and that's going to delay your feedback. So sign your paper and then put it in save it this way, because that's what I'm looking for, and then upload it. Okay. Make sense? But within here are going to be, if you researched a study and you believe that, and you read somewhere that there's a limitation with technology, I don't know. That's probably a bad example. Maybe, well, here, like I say, here you're going to, how did you know about these statistical analyses? You don't just know that stuff. You read it somewhere. So here's where you will cite and reference your source for, this study by Wolf discussed the statistical analyses that they ran. That's how I know about the t-test and the Pearson correlation. So be sure you cite and reference. There's not a section for it, so use the section to provide that information.
So
Okay.
should we put the reference within the space?
Yeah, you're gonna have to. There's not a special section for it.
Okay.
So don't go to a lot of trouble. Don't double space, don't indent. I don't care about any of that formatting. Just write. Write and cite. Okay. Any questions? All right. Well, oh. Anything else, Festus?
I think I'm fine.
All right. Well, I'm always here. Email me, whatever. Put something, if you have a question you think everybody might have, or many people might have, or more than you, put it in the course forum and ask the instructor, because I check that thing throughout the day.
Okay, well, quick one. Let me ask if I know in the previous course you had to do a research and portfolio presentation.
You know what? I haven't looked beyond Unit 1, so I'm not actually sure. If you do, it'll be in Unit 7. So it's not coming up anytime soon. And I hate to say this, someone is furiously knocking at my door. So we're over time. I told them 10, so I'm very sorry. Email me any questions you have, okay?
Thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
this. It's been great.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.